everybody, welcome to Takeoff with John Clark, presented by Rivers Casino. We've got a good one this week, Eagles and Washington. And this is actually the first time in close to 30 years these teams have had records where they're each 4 games above 500 or better. So who better to bring in? We know him as an Eagles Hall of Famer, but he also played down there in Washington. Jeremiah Trotter, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, man. Don't remind me I played down there either.
So there's not even a conversation. You don't even consider that part of your career.
Nah,
right?
Man. It was just like, you traveling and you make a pit stop, use the restroom, keep going. That's kind of,
Trot, we got a lot to talk about, and it's an awesome time right now because linebackers are back in Philly. I'm sure you're smiling about that. Let's see that smile there. Yes.
Hey, man, they looking good, man. I'm a big fan of linebacker play, but man,
absolutely,
they looking good, man. They looking good, and I'm so happy for them guys, man. You guys work the whole life. I was listening to Zack today, just talking about his journey a little bit, and being in New Orleans, and man, they're doing a great job, man. And the Philly fans should be excited about these two guys and the level they're playing at right now. And they're still new into the system, so they're going to continue to get better.
So with Zack Baun, because he kind of switched positions, and Vic Fangio actually said today that he told Howie Roseman, I see this guy as an inside linebacker. Now, in New Orleans, he was more of an edge rusher, getting after the quarterback and stuff. How big of an adjustment is that, and how impressed are you with the development?
It's a huge adjustment. It's like going from changing positions, like guard to tackle, safety to corner. I mean, because your reads are different, how you take on linemen is different. There's a lot more going on inside, a lot more to read. Everything you have to be a lot of film study, your reads have to be done so quickly, man. And just with the misdirection that these offenses are doing today in today's game. So it's a tough adjustment, and you're not guaranteed to make that adjustment, but man, he seemed like he's right at home.
So instincts that we're seeing out there, how important are instincts that he has?
Very, very important, man. Instincts. You talk about Nakobe, how smart he is. I just watched him in Georgia, and when he did play, when he first got to the Eagles, I just saw a guy that was very intelligent. Very intelligent. Man, high football IQ. You can tell that Nakobe's a step ahead of the play almost every play. That's why he can cover so much ground, because he's kind of in front of the play, and that comes from obviously film study, but some of that has to be natural. And Zack, the same way, he's so fundamentally sound. He's very rarely out of position. And, when you can just go out there and focus on your job, be in the right spot, and allow the game to come to you, that's kind of what he's been doing. He's been making a lot of great plays.
Now, you used to play what they call downhill, and you were great in the running game. How impressive is it the way Zack gets in there on the running game and the toughness he shows and the physicality that he's bringing?
Yeah, just seeing the way he's slipping those slipping blocks, the way he's shooting gaps. I know they had him down for 1 tackle for a loss. I thought he had 3, but man, just seeing him shoot those gaps for reading and impressive. I like seeing him celebrate a little bit more, bring a little excitement to the game. But everybody's different, man. He got his own style, and maybe he'll grow into get him a celebration.
Well, maybe Jeremiah Jr. could lend him the Axeman or get him something along those lines.
Yeah, man. Actually, we got him patting on the axe chop. You know what I'm saying? So we have to. He can make you. Give him another move or something.
Well, yeah, Nakobe, he seems to be the talker amongst the two, and he leads the team in the huddles and stuff like that. How important is it? Apparently, they're forming a good relationship off the field as well. How important is the chemistry that both of them are showing and the communication that they have together?
It's very important, man. Very important. They played together a lot during preseason. And then, once training camp broke, it was pretty much them two guys, man. So, and they're going to continue to grow. The more they get familiar with Nick's defense, and the sky's the limit for these guys. They're playing very well, man. I'm excited for the future of the linebacker position.
Trot, when you were visiting the Eagles in camp, of course, Jeremiah Jr. playing for the Eagles, they had you mic'd up, and you mentioned to Vic Fangio that Vic reminds you of Jim Johnson, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, just his personality. Not so much like Jim Johnson, he was coming to get you. He didn't matter, man. He lived by the sword, died by the sword. So he was coming to get you. But their personalities, you kind of, remind me of Jim a little bit. And he said him and Jim was pretty close. So
is it just all business? Like the Eagles players say, Vic Fangio, all he cares about is football. That's all he's going to talk to you about, and he's going to be very direct.
That's Jim. Jim was the same way. He was kind of standoffish. Now, if you went and talk to him, he would talk to you. See, whenever I went and talk to Jim, and it wasn't about football, I talked about his grandkids, and that would really just make his face light up. And but Vic, his personality, man, he just seemed like he's all football. Yeah, he's just. I see them; those guys. He's doing a good job.
Old school, huh?
Old school, man. Old school.
So right now they're in this 5-game winning streak. Now I know some of the teams they played haven't been the best quarterbacks, haven't been the best offenses.
Hey, we can't control that, baby. We got to play the guys on the schedule. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Absolutely. Right? So is this a great test though because of Jayden Daniels, his running ability and the way they're playing offense, their running game in Washington and Terry McLaurin?
This is going to be their best test yet. I think this is going to be the best team they faced all year. So it's going to be a big test, man. It's going to be a big test for Vic and the defense, and it's going to be a big test for offense too because their defense is playing very well. We definitely can't have any turnovers. We're going to have to win the turnover battle, and we'll find out this week where we really are.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough when you play in Jacksonville, when you're playing a beat up Cowboys, and they wasn't playing well before they lost their quarterback and their left tackle. It's tough to kind of get a gauge of where you are, but they went out and beat the team they were supposed to beat. Now you got a team coming in that's in my mind, could be a contender if the quarterback keep playing the way he's playing. So this is a good gauge, and they very easily should have won last week against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you're right. And it's interesting because the Commanders, they have faced a softer schedule at some points as well. And then they lost to the Ravens, tough loss. They lost to the Steelers. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of a measuring stick for them as well. Yeah,
it's going to be a great game. Thursday night, like Hugh Douglas always said, the whole neighborhood's watching, man. We're the only show in town, and it's going to be fun.
So about the Eagles defense, you've really seen it start to come together. I remember Vic Fangio, he was throwing a lot at the guys because he said, hey, you throw a lot at the guys, you can't see what sticks.
Right.
And he said, ask me in week 8 or week 9 about how the defense is. And he's right, because the defense has really come together. What's the most impressive thing to you when you watch Vic Fangio's defense this year with a really good mix of younger players and some veterans?
Play calling, guys, how he's bringing out the best in these guys being in the right spot. They just really impress you. You don't see them make a lot of mistakes that they was making early in the year. And that's expected because you can't learn how to play. You can't learn to gel just in spring ball, right? Just in training camp. Because in training camp, you got a lot of different guys moving pieces, guys battling for different spots. You got a lot of guys that are out. But when they all come together, every week you start gelling, you can see the maturity of this defense, how they have grown together over the course of the past 4 or 5 weeks. So, I'm impressed how he has got those guys playing at this level, and they're getting turnovers. And most importantly, when the offense has turnovers, those guys are doing a really good job of holding those teams to field goals. And that's the number one thing why I believe the team is on that 5-game winning streak, because they've bent a little bit, but when the offense get a turnover, they go right out there, man, holding teams to field goals. That's what it's going to take to win.
Hey, celebrity cook Steve Martirano is bringing his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly, where it started. Enjoy Martirano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. So make reservations for Martirano's Prime on Open Table. I've been to the one in Fort Lauderdale. I'm glad it's back in Philly. And Trot, it's really impressive. Jalen Carter, how violent he is,
Right.
the pressure, and then you got the young secondary with Slay hanging in there with them. You got the linebacker. So, in your opinion, who has been the MVP of the defense?
Man.
Because I think that's a tough question.
It's a tough question, but it's a little easier for me. And you can say I'm biased, but that my answer has a lot of legitimacy. I think Zack Baun has been the MVP to this point. I mean, just every single game, he's making big plays, whether it's interceptions, calls, fumbles, recover fumbles, 10, 12, 13 tackles. You know, if you look at the stats, man, he's having a great year. I mean, I think they both got a legitimate chance to make the Pro Bowl this year. They keep playing at this level.
That's saying a lot because the linebackers, it hasn't been a strong suit for a while in Philly.
Well, you look around the league. I mean, who else around the league that you can think of that's playing at their level?
Yeah,
I can't. It ain't a lot. I mean, I can't say Fred Warner has been having a year that he normally has. You know, I'm talking about the NFC. So, they're playing at a high level right now, and I'm happy for them, happy for the defense, happy for the team. You know, and those guys put the work in, man. I just hope they just continue to grow. Now, don't forget, our offense is under new coordinator also. So they're starting to gel also. And I think the more they play together, and Jalen he's a professional, man. He's a professional, so he's going to continue to get better.
And over the last 5 weeks, this 5-game winning streak, when they decided to run the ball more and stick with the run, how do you think that has helped Jalen, where you're basically a running team? And then when you have the opportunities on the outside, you pick your spots, but you go after them.
Tremendously. When they went to the Super Bowl, they were one of the top running teams in the NFL. Not just when they hand the ball off. Jalen was dropping back, taking off, extending plays. So they embraced his asset, and I mean his running ability. And I think they got back to that, you know, because we already know what Saquon can do. I mean, he's one in a generation talent. But Jalen, when he takes off, he really put pressure on the defense. Not only that, it's going to make your offensive line better because the defensive line can't just pin their ears back and rush the quarterback. That's why you very seldom see guys pin their ears back against Lamar. They know what he's capable of once he get past them guys. So I think it's going to help everybody that Jalen, if it's there, hey, man, let's go. And they got some call runs for him too. Man, use everything God gave him to be successful.
Yeah, that's a great point. And for you as a former Pro Bowl linebacker, Hall of Famer with the Eagles, when you go into a game against Jayden Daniels, who he's their leading rusher, and he's like, 45, 50 yards a game, how tough is that?
Man, listen, this cat's tough, man. He's good, man. He's good because he can sit in the pocket and deliver the ball anywhere on the football field. He's smart. He doesn't look like a rookie. And when he takes off, he just makes scrambling look so easy. And he's jogging, and these guys are running full speed behind him trying to make a play. And he's just toying with people out there, So, hey, like I said earlier, we're going to see where we at, especially from defense side of the ball. We're going to see what type of team we got this week.
Yeah, and this is pretty cool because Eagles and the Washington, whatever they're called, it hasn't been a rivalry for a while, right? Because Washington's been so bad. What do you think for Jalen Hurts? Like, okay, Jalen has established himself in this league, went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and everybody's kind of talking about Jayden Daniels. He's the new flavor. He's the new guy. He's coming along. He's been one of the best rookies you've seen. What do you think Jalen, for these 3 or 4 days, is thinking to himself about all the talk about Jayden?
Like, oh, okay. All right. Well, he just Hurts seems like the guy, man. He don't really listen to all that nonsense. He's just locked in. He don't get too high. He don't get too low. He don't seem like the type to worry about all that. He just goes out and just put the work in and go out and try to win games.
Yeah, you may have a point, but it is interesting because when people asked him about beating Joe Burrow, and he was kind of like, well, I have a standard for myself too, where he's basically saying, I want to be at that level, or I consider myself at that level.
Right,
so I think he hears a little bit of it.
He could. You know, you always, if you're a competitor, you kind of measure yourself up against other guys. You don't really dwell on it, but you know, I was guys when we was playing. You know, other teams that had really great middle linebackers. You know, obviously I wanted to go out and outplay those guys. You know, so I'm sure that's in the back of his mind. He's a major competitor. So yeah.
Trot, during your great career, obviously you had an incredible coordinator in Jim Johnson. And we saw what happened last year. Eagles collapsed. They were 10-1. They had a big collapse. And you heard that there was just a disconnect with coaching and players. What are we seeing this year with the coaching of Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, and how it really seems like they have developed this team and put this team in a spot to be a contender, and the connection that there is on both sides of the ball?
Well, I think the guys are buying in. They're buying in to the system. Obviously, Vic has a history to being, you know, a really, really outstanding coach, especially the linebacker position. They have always been successful in his defenses. So he has a history, and then the guys are buying in. You get a guy like Zack, and Nakobe's healthy this year. You got the two rookies that are out there balling, you know, so that they upgraded positions, a lot of positions, you know. They went out and brought, was it Huff from New York?
Right, so
Howard has done a great job of getting players in, and those guys are really stepping up. They're buying into the system. They're starting to gel now, so we'll see.
I was just going to tell you, move that phone.
Oh, my bad.
It's all good. It's all good. It's very interesting to me about the job Howie Roseman has done. Finally, it seems like finding some really good linebackers and then drafting the secondary, these young players.
Right.
What do you think it does for a guy like Brandon Graham, who said he was going into his final year? And you see the energy that the young guys have brought, but it seems like they're all kind of pushing each other.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Brandon Graham he's a consummate professional. He's the spark plug, not just for the defense, for the team. And everybody loves him, man. He's gonna soon be in the Eagles Hall of Fame. Has probably, I would say, the greatest play in Eagle history. Because if he don't make that play, I think Tom Brady's going down the field to score. Just because he's done it. Now, would I bet my house on it? No. But Tom Brady has done it a lot of times, man. You know, and him getting there causing that fumble. So he's a staple in the city. Everyone loves him. And then, you know, I remember him calling me or texting me when Jeremiah got drafted. He said, listen, man, everything I got, I'm going to give it to him. You know, and I really appreciated that coming from him, just having a veteran guy, knowing he going to look out for Jeremiah, look out for the young guys. Because I tried to do the same thing when I played, man. And that's the way, as much as the game give you, you got to give it back, man, to the younger guys. And that just shows the type of character guy he is, you know, to hit me up and say, hey, I got it, man. Don't worry. You know, so as a dad, made me feel good, man. And, you know, he says he's going to retire, but, man, he's still got a lot of gas in the tank, man. When he's out there, he's always making plays, you know. And, you know, you always need a guy like that. But decision up to him. You know, he got to do it when he's ready. No one knows what he goes into it on a day-to-day basis, you know. And so, you know, he'll make decisions what's best for him and his family.
Yeah, and he has hinted maybe this won't be his last year because he's having so much fun. You never know.
And he's making a lot of plays. Man, he goes in, man, he's making a lot of plays when he go out there, you know. And you always need a guy that you can say, all right, I know if I put him in, he's going to make a play. And that's what he's been doing, so.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. One of the things that I see with this team, too, is you heard over the bye week where Lane Johnson and some of the linemen went into Nick Sirianni and said, look, we need to run the ball. We need to concentrate on the run. We need to be a running team. And Jalen Hurts, you know, probably suggested I want to be under center a little more, do some different things. And then on defense, I was talking to Zack Baun after the win in Dallas, and he said the defensive coaches really listen to them during the games, during the week about what they like, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. Was that the way it was when you were playing, or do you think this is kind of the new wave of coaching where coaches really listen to the players, or maybe it's just the Eagles and a couple of other teams?
No. Jim Johnson was definitely like that. I mean, there was times where we would put in the game plan and we would go to practice on Wednesday, and it was too much communication, especially home games when our fans are trying to drown out their offense, but they're drowning us out too because we have to make calls. So there was times, especially in home games, we would have to scale back on all the calls and the checks. And I would go to Jim because we would go in the bubble and they would set up the speakers to drown us out, right? And the guys would come, Trot, man, we need to scale back. We can't get the calls in quick enough. And I'll go to Jim. He was like, all right, let me take a look at it, and then we'll see what we can do. And most times he would scale a lot of the calls and the checks back. And because the bottom line is it's the players that's on the field playing, right? And you want those guys to be in the most comfortable position as possible to be successful. And when you do that and everybody's on the same page, because that's how you get beat. You get beat when defense is on two different pages, right? But if you can get the call in quick and you relay it to the defense and everybody's on the same page, that's when you don't get, receivers running wide open down the middle of the field, that type of thing.
Yeah. I wanted to wrap it up with you with a question I asked Brian Westbrook last week, your fellow Hall of Famer. It seems like, okay, for a while now, it has been a passing league. They want to spread you out. And now we're seeing the return of the big running back this year. And is that kind of a change because, Vic Fangio, a lot of these coordinators, they keep those two safeties back, prevent the big play. So there's a little more room up there, but you've also got some smaller players on the field to cover all of the receivers and the tight ends and stuff. Do you see something changing here in the NFL?
I don't see nothing changing. I just think teams are taking advantage of their personnel. Baltimore without got big Henry. Shoot, you want him running the ball. We got Saquon. We want him running the ball. So you taking advantage of your personnel. And also they're taking advantage of Jalen. Call runs for the quarterback. Drop back. You don't first couple reads, boom, he's taking off more this year. Because I think what happened, when we went to the Super Bowl, he was an integral part of the running game. Zone reads, pulling it, taking off, and he got his big contract. Sometimes what happens with, I'm not saying this would happen, but sometimes what happens when the guy get a big contract, our mentality is, we got to protect our quarterback. But his running ability is what helped y'all get to that point. Look at Baltimore. They embrace Lamar taking off. They embrace the skill set the guy gave him, And you got guys like Brady, they can't run like that. They have to stay in the pocket. But if you're gifted to be able to do that, why not use every tool that God has given you to be successful?
Absolutely. And this is going to be a fun stretch here, Trot, because you got Washington for first place. Then you got a trip to LA. And then you got the Baltimore Ravens.
It's going to be another good one, man.
Woo. Wow.
Hey, listen, it's going to be fun. It's fun to watch, especially when you're winning. But I still don't think we've tapped into who we really are on either side of the ball just because they're in a new system. But they're going in the right direction. That's what you want to see.
So you don't think they've completely tapped into what they can be?
Not even close. You can't. You know how long it takes for a team to get comfortable in a new scheme? Especially at the quarterback position, to where it's second nature, to where you make the call, you come to the line of scrimmage, you ain't got to think about what's going on. You know where everybody's supposed to be, boom, 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 and it takes time to do that.
That's very interesting. And one thing we've seen, though, Trot, is earlier on the defense, they were missing a lot of tackles in certain games. What does it say now that it seems like they're able to play a little faster and they're making all the tackles? Because
you're not thinking, man. You're not thinking. You're just out there playing. Every week they got better. Every week, if you watch, right? Every week they got better. Now what happens is, now when you're not thinking, you're getting yourself in the right spots. And when you put yourself in the right spots to make plays, that's when you start getting turnovers. For example, they threw the ball to the flat against Zack. And as soon as the tight end turned around, Zack made a big hit on it, and boom, ball came out. Just knowing, being in the right spot at the right time where you're supposed to be, then you make plays.
All right, well, it's time to get some Pro Bowl linebackers back in Philly.
Let's go, man. Get out of the boat.
I love it. I love that smile that comes across your face when you see good linebacker play.
Yeah, man, I love seeing it, man.
That's awesome. Well, Trot, we appreciate the time. I know you enjoyed your trip to Dallas, and then you'll be there for the game against the Commanders. it's kind of cool because not only does your son play for the team, but you're really invested in all ways in the Eagles.
Man, listen, I was invested before he got drafted. I bleed green, literally, man, and still my city, man, and I still I'm a son of the city, and this is just a little added bonus, but I was already invested.
I love it. Well, you're on the right side of this Eagles-Washington rivalry, so
no doubt.
Appreciate it, Trot. Always great catching up with you, and see you Thursday night. It's going to be a good one.
Let's go, baby. Let's go, Birds.